From Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Saamiyah Syed. Our top story tonight: the Muslim NASA scientist who helped put rovers on Mars has died. Iranian-American Feroz Naderi died June 9th. He was 77 years old. Naderi served in various technical and leadership positions at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory for over 30 years. He oversaw the successful landing of 2 research rovers on Mars. His accomplishments included the Mars Odyssey. That was a spacecraft launched in 2001 and is still in service, which holds the record. Naderi emigrated to the U.S. from Iran in 1964 to pursue higher education. He opposed former President Donald Trump's ban on Muslims from entering the country. Naderi also opposed the Iranian government and supported the democratic struggle in his former homeland. At the time of his retirement, an asteroid was named after him. A Florida-based right-wing group is campaigning to make it harder for Ohio voters to pass constitutional referendums. The Foundation for Government Accountability is advocating Ohio's state constitution be amended only by a majority vote. The group is funded by Illinois billionaire Richard Uihlein. A proposed amendment would have to receive 60% of the vote to pass instead of the current simple majority. Critics say this would make it harder for voters to pass progressive measures. They also argue the amendment is being pushed by special interests seeking to protect their power. Uihlein has donated over $17 million to the FGA since 2014. Last year, he donated over $1 million for the Save Our Constitution campaign. The ads urged the state lawmakers to support a higher threshold to amend the state constitution. The group seeks to block ranked choice voting in states and cities. This is to prohibit outside financial support for underfunded election offices. In Ohio, Republican legislators have proposed a constitutional amendment that would raise the threshold for approval of a referendum from 50% to 60%. This amendment is to be voted on in a special election in August. Attorney General Merrick Garland has denied allegations the Justice Department interfered in the investigation of President Joe Biden's son. He says the attorney appointed by former President Donald Trump was allowed to continue his investigation. Trump had appointed David Weiss to pursue the case. Controversy erupted after a Republican-led House committee released testimony from 2 staffers who claimed investigators interfered with Weiss's investigation. Committee Chairman Jason Smith says the allegations revealed misconduct and uneven enforcement of the tax law. He adds that the preferential treatment given to Hunter Biden would never have been granted to ordinary Americans. One of the whistleblowers pointed to alleged efforts to block enforcement actions, limit opportunities for questioning, and delay action before elections. The decision to release the whistleblower transcripts came 3 days after Weiss announced that the younger Biden had agreed to accept a settlement over tax and weapons violations. Bilqis Abdul Qadir is working on a children's book about her experience. She is the first Muslim woman to play Major League Basketball wearing a hijab. Lion on the Inside: How One Girl Changed Basketball describes her journey as a young girl with a great passion for basketball and her faith. It focuses on the importance of young children understanding other races and religions. Bilqis played Division I basketball. Division I is the highest level of competition in college sports in the U.S. It includes many of the largest and most well-known universities and athletic programs. Bilqis hopes the book will inspire young readers to become better citizens and advocate for a more inclusive world. She says as a Black Muslim woman, she does not see many on the basketball court or other playing field who are like her. The book is scheduled to be published this fall. Yusef Salam is running for a seat on the New York City Council. In 1989, 15-year-old Salam and 4 other teenagers were falsely accused by police and convicted of raping and assaulting a white woman in Central Park. They spent 7 years in prison before being exonerated in 2002. Salam is running for the Democratic primary for the Harlem seat. He is among 3 candidates in the race. The primary is set for June 27th. Salam says he is running for office to give a voice to those wrongfully convicted. He also aims to address some of Harlem's most pressing challenges, including poverty, homelessness, and affordable housing. A story on intelligence agencies being unsure about the origins of COVID-19 comes with details after the break, so stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. A declassified U.S. intelligence report shows no clear evidence linking the origin of the COVID-19 virus to a Chinese laboratory in the city of Wuhan. However, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence report released Friday does not rule out the possibility. The report mentions some researchers at the lab fell ill in 2019 before the mass outbreak of COVID-19. The report says the Wuhan lab conducted coronavirus research with the Chinese People's Liberation Army. According to the report, there is no indication the researchers were hospitalized due to COVID. The intelligence agency could also not confirm whether any of the researchers had worked with live viruses before becoming ill. The report acknowledges the Wuhan Institute of Virology has security problems. These may have increased the risk of accidental exposure to the virus. The Biden administration has said it is still seeking important information from China about COVID-19's origin. The World Health Organization has already cleared the Wuhan laboratory of the virus outbreak. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres is being criticized for excluding Israel from the list of countries that kill and harm children. The annual report, Children in Armed Conflict, does not mention Israel. Activists say Israel has killed and injured more than 1,000 Palestinian minors in the past 2 years. The UN has attributed over 6,000 child deaths between 2015 and 2020 to Israeli forces. Human rights activists say Guterres' decision to exclude Israel from the list is a major mistake. They say this encourages Israeli forces to use unlawful lethal force against Palestinian children. The report is expected to be released June 30th. It follows the death of 3 Palestinian children killed by Israeli forces last week. Palestinian ambassador to the United Nations Riyad Mansour calls Israel's omission from the list very disappointing. While Russia was included in the list, Ukraine is not mentioned in the report. Ukrainian Homeland Security forces reportedly killed 80 children last year. Saudi Arabia was removed from the list in 2020, although it continues to lead the US-backed coalition intervention in Yemen's civil war. A study shows the housing market in the Central European country of Austria is affected by racial discrimination. The study commissioned by the Ombudsman for Equal Treatment found that Muslims are particularly affected by discrimination. The survey's authors responded to 157 housing advertisements in the city of Graz, Vienna, Innsbruck, and Linz with Muslim names. The first profile, Mohammed Asif, received acceptance in only 50% of cases. The second profile, with the fictitious name Michael Gruber, always received appointments. Head of the study, Sandra Konstatsky, says the research aims to show discrimination in the housing market. Pakistan is criticizing a joint statement released after talks between President Joe Biden and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Pakistan Defense Minister Hajj Asif calls on the reference to his country in the statement misleading and a violation of diplomatic norms. The joint statement calls on Pakistan to take immediate action to ensure no Pakistani-controlled territory is used for terrorist attacks. Asif says Pakistan is still paying the price for being a frontline U.S. ally in 2 Afghan wars. In a speech to the lower house of parliament, Asif complained that Washington was not acknowledging the country's sacrifices. He accused Modi of overseeing the killing of thousands of Muslims and the rape of women in the western Indian state of Gujarat when he was chief minister in 2002. Asif also reminded the US it had imposed a visa ban on Modi for his alleged involvement in the murder of Muslims. He also criticized previous Pakistani governments for siding with the US in the wars of Afghanistan. Asif says for the US, the war was an investment, but for Pakistan, it was destruction. Thousands of elderly Uyghurs have been detained in China's northwest region since 2016. Many of those detained have died in custody, often without their families being notified. Those who survived were subjected to forced labor, political indoctrination, and cultural oppression. There are reportedly over 1,400 Uyghurs aged 55 or older in detention. Most of them are grandparents and retirees. Human rights groups have called on the international community to hold China accountable for its treatment of Uyghurs. One Uyghur activist told the media thousands of elderly people were being detained for no reason. Rights activists say the people were subjected to endless Communist Party propaganda to eradicate local Uyghur culture. In 2016, Chinese authorities unleashed a wave of arrests and detentions against the Turkic population in northwest China. India and Egypt have signed a strategic partnership treaty. Signed by Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Cairo, it covers cooperation in various fields. It promises Indian investment in the Suez Canal Authority. Egypt has also established a special unit for India in the cabinet. Al-Sisi awarded Modi the Order of the Nile, Egypt's highest state honor. Indian Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says Modi has received 6 of his 13 international awards from Muslim countries. Modi also met with the Grand Mufti of Egypt, Shouki Ibrahim Alam. An official spokesman said the leaders discussed issues related to social and religious harmony and countering extremism and radicalization. Modi also visited the Al-Hakim Mosque. Prominent Indian Muslim scholar Zafarul Islam Khan called the meeting between Modi and the Grand Mufti a cosmetic measure. Millions of pilgrims dressed in ihram arrived at the Grand Mosque in the holy city of Mecca on Sunday. Ihram is the clothing worn by pilgrims during the Hajj. They completed the first tawaf or circling of the Kaaba to begin the 6-day rituals of Hajj. After the tawaf, the pilgrims made their way to Mina, a tent city of about 5 kilometers east of Mecca. In Mina, the pilgrims will prepare for the profound spiritual experience that awaits them on Mount Arafat. On Tuesday, the pilgrimage will culminate at Mount Arafat, where the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is said to have delivered his final sermon. On the same evening, the pilgrims will set out for Muzdalifah, between Arafat and Mina. There, they will spend the night collecting small stones for the upcoming ritual of stoning Satan at the Jamarat pillars in Mina. The pilgrims will then proceed to the Great Mosque to again perform tawaf. They will return to Mina and stay there until Saturday to participate in 2 more rituals involving the throwing of stones. After these rituals, pilgrims will perform tawaf al-wida, or farewell circumambulation, before leaving the city of Mecca. This year's Hajj is expected to have the largest number of pilgrims since 2019, before the COVID-19 pandemic. In recent days, 2 million pilgrims, including 200,000 from the Saudi Kingdom, reached Mecca. In light of the Hajj season, we've prepared a special report on Cave Hira, or the Mountain of Divine Light. Let's watch.
In our times, the stresses of life's daily grind weigh heavily upon the body, the mind, the heart, and the soul. For the sake of strengthening one's health, both physically and mentally, it's common to hear people talk about mindfulness, taking time to reflect on one's inner self, breathe, reflect, retreat, try to find one's center, and to find a better perspective of what's truly important in life. What better place to find peace and solitude than in nature, God's creation? This small cave in the Arabian desert is called Hira. Hira was the reflection, meditation, and mindfulness spot of the 7th century prophet, whose teachings would carry on to shape the world as we know it today. Muhammad, peace be upon him. A middle-aged man, devoted husband and father of 4 girls, he would retreat to this cave in Mount Hira to reflect upon life, lament social injustices he witnessed, hope for strength and guidance to cope, and pray for the wisdom to bring about positive social change. It was here in this cave that answers began to come. Inspiration, revelation, words he heard recited, words he was commanded to recite. Al-Quran. Caves are notoriously dark and damp, hard, cold places. Yet from this small cave came hope, guidance, and mercy. The mountain it sits upon became known as Jabal an-Nur, the mountain of divine light. Muslims from around the world visit it if they can, climbing to its heights and looking out upon the valley below with gratitude. They climb down from this mountain cave just as the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, did centuries ago. They return to their homes and their families just as he did. And perhaps they descend with newfound inspiration, guidance, hope, mercy, patience, and courage.
Before we end today's news segment, I would like to make a special request. It takes more than 55 hours of work per day to produce this news segment for you. It is news with a unique perspective, and you can find it only on here, on Muslim Network TV. Sound Vision is a not-for-profit organization which produces it. And just like PBS and NPR, we depend on your donations. Please visit muslimnetwork.tv to donate now or click the link below to donate. That's all from our Toronto studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.